Have you ever looked around and just thought, what happened to originality? Or more specifically, what happened to standing out? Because it feels like South Africa, scratch that, in most places now, the idea of being yourself has become as rare as a decent service at a government clinic. It's like we've all got a little too obsessed with fitting into society and forgot about what it means to stand out. And it's not even just about fashion anymore, following the latest trend, or being the guy with the coolest Jordans now. We've gone much further than that. We've turned it into a life mission to fit in. Hell, you could be the brightest person in the room with a mind like Elon Musk and still find yourself scrolling through social media, wondering why everyone's opinion on what's trending matters more than your own unique thoughts, let alone what you had to eat today. We are not born with the fear of standing out. When you were a little kid, you don't give a flying flip about what people think. But then life happens, doesn't it? And South African youth, the same kids who grew up thinking a cool party meant sitting around in a circle while sipping on Casa Light and listening to Amapiano all night long. Yeah, now those kids are glued to their phones trying to figure out how to get 200 likes on a post about their new vibe. It's like being in high school all over again. Back then, they were the cool kids who did the coolest things with no shame whatsoever. And then there were the rest of us, struggling to pick between trying to be someone else and hiding in plain sight, or trying to stay unnoticed, or just hoping no one notices the weird kid in the corner. That was me. But now, the entire nation of South African youth is basically one giant high school cafeteria. Tell me if I'm telling lies. You've got every child scrambling to sit at the same table, trying to post what the other influencer next door posted on Instagram yesterday. It's like watching the game Who Wore It Better, except no one actually cares now. What we really care about is how much we can blend in with a group and still get some validation. And it's sad, because what that tells me is that standing out is now bad. It's something that was admired. A few decades ago, if you were some person who didn't care about what other people thought, you were a legend. You'd be the kid with a unique sense of humor who could draw a sick anime character while everyone else was still trying to get their stick figures to look like actual people. Standing out from the crowd. That used to be cool. I used to eat paper and erasers in class as a kid. Alright, maybe I shouldn't have revealed that. The teacher remembered me as the one kid who wrote in cursive form in class from beginning to end of school because everyone else was writing in print form. So every time she saw my book, she was like, oh, it's that child who writes in cursive. And she used to hate that, but I didn't give a fuck. Nowadays, if you're that kid, you're basically a ghost in the room. No one notices because, well, no one's paying attention to originality anymore. Everyone is too busy copying the next trending thing on Twitter, Instagram, or TikTok. Everyone is looking at what our celebrities are wearing. I'm telling you, if someone like Casper Nyovest starts wearing orange Nike sneakers, almost every child at school will want to come wearing orange Nikes on CV's Day all of a sudden. Why? Oh, because didn't you see on Twitter Casper Nyovest wears it now? What is going on? And of course, they couldn't have done that without the help of social media. You know what social media is like, right? It's basically that one toxic relationship that's like a vampire, slowly sucking the life out of you like a succubus. And don't even get me started on TikTok. TikTok has somehow turned everything into a race. Not to be the best version of yourself, but to be the most trend-following version of yourself. Whether it's dancing like a fool or jumping on every trending challenge like a glorified seal at a circus, now it's all about looking like everybody else. It's like fitting in. It's as though being different is some kind of crime in the society we live in. How many TikToks have you seen where someone posts themselves doing the exact same dance moves as someone else, just with a different filter, just so that they can join the wave trend? You can't even tell them apart at this point, I'm sure, because there's no originality whatsoever. Okay, some trends are funny, but it becomes a problem when you look around and realize everyone is just hopping on the trending bandwagon without a single thought about doing something for themselves or just finding a way to be different from everybody else. You're no longer expressing who you are now. Now it's about expressing who you think you should be to be liked by people. And that leads me to the main issue, FOMO. Or as I call it, the disease of the modern age. FOMO is fear of missing out. That's what it stands for. It's like that fear of missing out on a trend, who has the latest shoes, the latest iPhone, All of those voices in your head chanting, damn, I need to get that too. You know what I'm saying? That's FOMO. I'm talking about that. It's like looking at a group of people running in the same direction, and instead of questioning why they're all running like mindless chickens, you join them. Why? Because you have fear of missing out. No one wants to feel left out, right? It's like the entire generation of mine has been indoctrinated into thinking that if they don't fit in with whatever's hot in the moment, they are worthy of nothing. Nowadays, we are watching kids throw away phones just to buy new ones. They don't even know why they're doing this. I mean, look at all the things that were once considered cool. I bet if you ask people today about those things, they genuinely have no idea what you were talking about. You remember the days when the entire school was obsessed with buying CDs? Or when you spent a whole Saturday morning just messing around with a PlayStation 2, or when everyone was talking about the latest episode of Naruto yesterday? Nowadays, kids are spending time pretending they care about cryptocurrency and flexing new Gucci drip they bought with their parents' money. It's crazy. And what happens when we let these trends define us? Here's what's gonna happen. We're gonna end up losing touch with ourselves. It's like trying to make spaghetti without knowing what pasta is. Bruv. We end up with a generic version of ourselves that's gonna get lost in the sea of people doing the same thing, saying the same thing, and wearing the same thing. The question is, why are we even doing it? And speaking of everyone doing the same thing, let's talk about how our boys and girls are being warped and molded by this too. Men, especially in South Africa, have been raised to think they have to conform to a very specific idea of masculinity. And they've got the same pressure to fit in as everyone else. Whether it's about driving the flashiest car, dating the hottest girl, getting her the shortest skirt, or throwing the biggest parties, it's all about following a set of narrative to prove you're the alpha. And then on the other side of the coin, the girls, don't even get me started. Women in South Africa are taught that their value comes from how much boobs you can see when they wear their crop tops. I mean, come on. How many times have we seen influencers just trying to get likes by posting half-naked selfies like this? It's their brand now. But like everything else, it's a trap, because it doesn't take long before you realize the validation you were seeking is just a temporary fix and probably could ruin your life. You can look at your follower account and likes all you want, but that won't fill the hole inside you when you get home and feel empty. All you'll be doing is just staring at the pictures of you looking like this. Alright, now let's talk about instant gratification. It's basically the modern equivalent of that one dude who can't sit still at a dinner table because he's waiting for a notification from his phone from his late date. You know who I'm talking about. The type of guy who checks his phone every 2 seconds, or the type of woman who checks her phone every second because they want to see a tiny glowing rectangle with that says you earned this amount of rands. Now think about this for a second. That instant gratification isn't just social media. It's a whole damn epidemic. Everything is designed to give us an immediate reward nowadays. Back in the day when you made a joke at school and everyone laughed, you'd feel good for a solid minute and that was it. Maybe you'd even tell your friends you were funny after. Now, you crack a joke, post it on Twitter, and if it doesn't go viral within 5 minutes, you feel like you're worth less than a used pair of flip-flops from Mr. Price. And that's where the social media comes in. It's like a feeding tube that connects your brain straight to a rush of likes, shares, and retweets. You want that dopamine, you want the views because it gives you that instant I'm awesome feeling. But here's the kicker. Once you hit that, it only lasts for a few seconds before you're back to searching for the next validation fix. Tell me if I'm telling lies. And when you don't get that hit, it's like the world's about to end. It's like Madlu Putu has returned. Hoping for a new comment is feeling like Jack Mabosa has kidnapped you with his minions. And that's why it's so damn easy to fall into this trap of constantly trying to fit in. It's not just about the likes anymore. It's about the rush of belonging. People start to forget the basics of being themselves because they're too obsessed with being accepted. And that's exactly what social media preys on. It's like your phone is a predator and you're its prey, constantly chasing after validation and likes like its brother Enigma in The Last Bus to Freedom. Speaking of social media, let's talk about this new breed of people all of a sudden we've all come to know as influencers. These are the people who've mastered the art of fitting in and standing out, while somehow tricking you into thinking that buying their brand of toothpaste will change your life. You know the ones I'm talking about. The ones with perfect teeth, perfect hair, and a life so curated, it's like their whole experience is a sponsored advert. Now, there's nothing wrong with being an influencer, if that's your thing. But the truth is, most influencers aren't just selling you their crypto coin. They are selling you an illusion. And guess what? Illusion is just the beginning. And to put you on game real quick, I want you to take a quick look at the Instagram influencers who post their perfect little lives on the beaches in Thailand and Bali with their iced lattes. Outside that social media bubble, it seems like they have it all. But here's the thing. How many people do you know who actually live like that? It's alright, I'll wait. Let me look for my charger while you're about to tell me. The problem is, everyone now wants to emulate that lifestyle. So suddenly, everyone thinks they need to look like their feed is sponsored by Gucci and McDonald's combined. Because the influencer culture sells you this idea that doesn't even exist. Now it's just about fitting in and following trends. Now it's about being sold a false sense of morality. You see, you don't need to fix into this influencer-driven little box, no matter how many filters they put on it. Real life is messier, it's grittier, and it's not as glamorous, let me tell you. And the sooner you realize that, the sooner you can stop wasting your time trying to replicate or duplicate those versions of success, because they're not even real. But here's where it gets real. All this obsession with fitting in and following trends isn't just about affecting how we look. Now it's affecting how we think. And that's when things get really scary now. I'm actually really scared for society, because if you think about it, if we're all just following the same trends, who's actually thinking for themselves? When was the last time you heard someone express an original thought? One that wasn't just regurgitated from their favorite Twitter influencer or a meme they saw on Instagram. I'll wait. Yeah, I thought so. It's becoming rare, isn't it? We're so distracted by trends, memes, and retweets and zoto abantu that we've forgotten the simple art of thinking for ourselves. It's easier to now search on Google what's the biggest trend than to actually have a unique opinion of yourself. And this is where we are as a society. We're at risk of becoming sheep. And that's the sad truth. Our youth are so hooked on following these digital personalities that it's starting to erode our individuality. You follow trends mindlessly. You're essentially telling your brain, I don't need to think for myself. And that's the opposite of growth, my friend. That's the opposite of what you wanted in life, to stand out. This need to fit in doesn't only stop at social media. It goes from school to work to family dinners. There's constant pressure to look, act, and talk a certain way. God forbid you actually say something that doesn't fit into the norm. People will either call you crazy, tell you to get with the times, or flat out ignore you. Take a look at how we treat kids who think differently, for example. If you're the one who isn't following the latest trend, you'll get made fun of. And that's the harsh reality. The way South African youth are growing up, the way all youth are growing up, it's like constantly trying to match a certain image in their mind. Now, that's making nothing but a mindset of I want to be just like that person instead of I want to be my own unique person, which is wrong because you don't have authenticity anymore. But I get it. We all want to fit in. Hell, I'm no exception. Most of my middle school days was me trying so hard to be like the cool kids. I did everything they did. When they didn't throw their knickknacks packets in the bin and left it on the grass, I did it too because I thought it was cool. When they disrespected the teachers, I did it too. You want to know what happened then? I grew up. I realized that, you know what, I'm going to do what's with me. I'm going to do what's in my heart, and I don't give a damn who's damning with it. You know, the more you try and fit in with what's cool, the more you lose sight of who you really are. And I realized that at a very early age, fortunately. Now let's talk about the long-term consequences of this. Sure, fitting in sounds good, but after a while that feeling fades and all that is left is just emptiness. It's like buying an expensive jacket you can't even afford just to impress people you don't even like. Yeah, it might feel cool for a bit, but once that jacket is out of style or you can't afford the next one, you'll realize you've spent the entire time focusing on the wrong things. So here we are in this day and age facing a crisis. If you asked a child in, let's say, 1987, what crisis 2025 would have, that child would probably say something like humans would be battling aliens for land on Mars and other planets to colonize them. Not knowing that we'd go on to stoop so low below the belt, we now live in an age where kids twerk on Instagram and have shorter attention spans than house flies. Now our grade 4s can't even read properly, let alone spell the word properly. Crisis shouldn't be about how many followers you have on TikTok or how many likes your Instagram post has. Get it together. It's about the bigger issue of conformity. It's about forgetting who you are just so that you can blend in. But it doesn't have to be like that. Standing out doesn't have to mean wearing a t-shirt with some weird band logo or painting your hair purple. It just means being okay with who you are. Being okay with not having the latest gadgets and trends on social media. It means being alright with yourself, CC. Because when you try to stop fitting in, you actually start being the person you were meant to be. And if we all just spent a little less time worrying about fitting in, just imagine how much more we could achieve, how much more you could achieve. Imagine how much more you could create. It's about time you stopped looking at the next person next to you and started looking at yourself. Because you matter. No one else is going to validate who you are. So why the hell should you let someone else tell you how to live? Subscribe.